This is Mike Ward with Live Explore Real Estate in Petaluma. I'm with the Prince of Pavers, the King of Concrete, Kyle Harris himself, Harris Company Concrete. This is the Ward Report. What's up, dude?
What's up, Mike? Dude,
how you doing?
To be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you.
First podcast ever.
Dude, I was like, you were on the top of the list. I can't believe it's taken this long to get you in. All right, I'm going to start with some true or falses.
Sweet.
Immediate answers. Don't think about it. Just react.
I got it.
If Vegas was setting a betting line for this, the over-under of time spent at Petaluma Market each time you walk in is 45 minutes.
True. Over.
Every time.
Yes.
10 minutes at the butcher's, 10 minutes at the hot food line, back to the, I know your role. I do the same thing every single time.
At least an hour.
All right. True. There's nothing in life you love more than friends calling you to pour their concrete countertops.
False. Absolutely not.
What's the aversion to countertops? Because you've had a hatred for them.
There's just no, if you're in your kitchen, dude, it's just too much possibility to go wrong. They'll never end up right. And I don't want you to call me on Christmas morning because something went goofy and the pan stuck to it. So no countertops. You
turned to me when we were looking at a house once. You're like, don't ever call me for a concrete countertop. I was like, noted. There was hatred in that.
It's out. Yeah, use marble or something. Put something that's going to last.
All right. Number 3. No other concrete company owner in Sonoma County has a stronger power clean than Kyle Harris.
True.
Yeah, it is true.
Yes.
Oh, what is it at now? What was it at? What's your all-time power clean
I think
max?
I got 215.
Yeah. Oh, you got more than that.
Yeah, probably 225.
I want to put you in the 245 range.
It's possible.
Oh,
it's possible.
I think we have film evidence.
I think when we were going heavy, it was 245.
Yeah, don't undersell yourself, man. 215. Those aren't your numbers.
I can't redo it today to replicate it.
No, who can? All right, you got through those. You get to bonus questions. You are shipwrecked on an island with a record player powered by the sun, and you get one vinyl record for eternity. What album is it and why?
I'm going with Leonard Skinner. Pronounced Leonard Skinner.
Yeah.
Because Freebird, Simple Man, Tuesday's Gone, those are all like...
all of them.
Some songs when I was in my late teens, early 20s that I seriously would listen to and shape me, right, through troubled times or whatever. It's like sometimes when you're going through tough stuff, relationships, moving jobs, whatever it is, you listen to Freebird and you're like, that's just me. It's just I'm a Freebird, right?
Dude,
and then you listen to Simple Man.
That song too, when that song starts picking up, like if you're in a workout or you're running and you start and you're in that mellow pace and then all of a sudden that thing starts to like build and build and build, you're full pace at the end. Like you don't even know it. Like that like changes the dynamic of your energy, listening to that song. Oh,
that's a jam. And lots of good laughs, and you as a guitarist would not appreciate this, but I was always the drunk guy. If someone had an electric guitar, I was like, play Freebird. I'll give you $100, play Freebird. Sometimes people did it.
And everyone yells it out at concerts.
Yes.
And I'm at a Ryan Adams, actually the weekend I proposed to my wife, we're in Santa Barbara, and we go down for a Ryan Adams show, and he's like an acoustic folk kind of singer-songwriter guy. And of course, everyone yells it out once in a concert, no matter where you are. This guy yells it out, he's sitting right in front of me. For the next 2 straight hours, Ryan Adams absolutely tears him apart. Every single song, he starts pointing at him and being like, Freebird, huh? You want Freebird right now? Freebird what you want? And I turn red behind the guy. I was sweating. And the guy, every single like minute, he starts getting lower and lower until he was gone. But great album. Absolutely almost a perfect album from start to
Simple
finish.
Man's like my favorite. It's most favorite song. Like, you know, my mom, I was raised by my mom, so just thinking like, that's something to live by, Simple Man, you know, just do good, be honest, and just, that always stuck with me. So that was my album. If I'm stuck on an island or I'm driving by myself, I'm listening to that and pondering.
That's a good one. Next question. You are going on a 30-day juice cleanse, which would never happen.
Never.
What is the last meal you eat before it starts? And you can pair this from like different restaurants. It could be home cooked. It could be literally anything. This is your dead man walking meal.
My last meal would have to be, I don't even know if it's around anymore, but remember Rosso's? They had their fried chicken with honey gravy.
On potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
On mashed potatoes.
That would be it. I'm still craving it.
Do they still have, is there one up in Santa Rosa?
I think there's a Rosso's in Santa Rosa, but that was me. Me and Anna would go down there all the time. I was in Petaluma, and that was my Sunday. Get the fried chicken with honey gravy. I miss it. So that would be it.
You don't feel bad eating that either. For some reason, that fried chicken, I never felt, like if I go hammer Popeyes, like I'm out for a week.
Yeah.
You know, I'm on a couch, like with a hangover. But that stuff was like a really clean way that they did that.
Yeah.
And that gravy was unreal.
The honey gravy is insane.
That's your number one. And that's nothing added to it?
Just that.
No dessert?
if cheesecake was around, I'd have to get some cheesecake, some raspberry cheesecake or
You're
something.
You're a cheesecake guy.
Oh, big time.
Are you? Whole life? Even as a kid?
No. As I got older.
You want the swirls? You want the raspberry swirls?
Raspberry swirls, cheesecake. That would be it.
Okay, fried chicken, cheesecake. All right, last one. No. You can live without working in any city in the world for 6 months. Where is it and why?
It would have to be, I haven't traveled a ton, but there's nothing make me more happy than the mountains. And like, it'd have to be, honestly, I'd just say Truckee in summer.
That's
Truckee
your spot.
Summer. Mountain biking, going to the lake, trail, hiking, being outside.
And you got a place up there.
Got a place in Truckee, and that's where I'm the most happy. For some reason, you roll the window down going through like Auburn and you smell the pines, and going up into the mountains is just like changes my whole mindset.
What point of that trip does it kick into you? Like when I go, we've got a little mountain cabin, my family does, and there's a certain point every time when I hit, there's one tree. When I'm going through Orville, I start to climb up into the mountains, that it's like I start to turn off. I start to like decompress. Do you have that point in that trip where is it immediately, or is it like when you hit a certain point in the drive where you're like, I'm off?
Yeah, it's once you get, for us, it's like the Colfax exit. For whatever reason, we've hit a million. You know, I love the early mornings, so I'll pack Joe and Anna in the car, and we'll be 5 a.m. leaving Petaluma, and I like to see the sunrise, and we'll hit that Starbucks and Colfax and get the second coffee for the day, and the sun's coming up, and that's the spot.
You're in. That's your rhythm.
Do
you ever hit Aikidas? Do you go through Aikidas the way you go?
Oh, yeah, you pass that. We would if it was evening or something, but normally it's going in the early mornings.
Aikida's like gourmet Costco now.
Yeah.
That place was a shack when I was a kid, and all it had was fruit smoothies. Now it's like fine wines and cheeses, and it's got a restaurant on the end of it.
Yep.
But it's great.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a good lunch spot. Yeah, you could get all the pies and burgers and fine wine, whatever.
Totally. And then what's your favorite season? Do you like summer or do you like winter up there?
I always, that's a tricky one because it's a toss-up. But as I get older, it's the summer. And when I was younger, it was the snow, and I loved the snow. I loved chasing the blizzards. Like I had a best friend that we would just watch the snow, and it's like, if it was hammering and 80 was about to close, we were the only guys going that way. And it was the snow. But now that I got into mountain biking and stuff, the summer's better. Yeah. Yeah, I like the summer better.
I love the summer. It's like no question. We hit the winter up there last year, and we hit it on the blizzard of the year.
Yeah.
They closed the pass 5 minutes after we passed. Hands down the sketchiest drive I've ever made in my life. We slid like 40 yards.
Yeah.
Like multiple times. Can't see like 10 feet in front of you. Do you care? Does driving
No, I love it
at all?
I'm weird. Yeah, I love the blizzard part. Yeah, it's a weird thing that I have going, but I'm very comfortable driving in the snow, and it's my favorite thing. The only reason would be I knew there'd be no lines at the resorts.
Totally.
It was worth the sketchy moments when you're like, your head is on the windshield and the blades are frozen, and you're like...
I was hitting the blade. The blade was coming up. I was literally hitting the snow outside off. And of course, our car's got like bike tires on it, right? You probably have the right tires to drive in snow. We do not.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was hectic. All right, so Tahoe, summer. All right, we're going to move on. So let's talk about your profession. You own a concrete company in Petaluma. How long have you owned it for?
Yeah, so I own Harris Company Concrete Construction out of Petaluma, and I started the business in 2006, June of 2006. But
so you're 20 years.
In 18, yeah. It'll be in June, 18 years. Yeah,
you're 2 years out.
And I didn't officially get my license in 2010. It's a long story, but so I've been filing my Schedule C self-employed since 2006, June of 2006, and I was 21.
And so here's the deal. Like I was thinking about this a lot, and I'm thinking about your personality. I've known you for so long. And this is no disrespect to the concrete industry because it's an amazing industry. Everyone needs it. You're good at it. You've made a hell of a business around it.
I appreciate that.
But no one in junior year in high school is staring out the window dreaming of pouring concrete.
No, nor was I.
Like that was
not my path.
So like, how did that happen? Like, what did you think? Like when you're in high school, what did you think your path was going to be? And then how did it end up in 2006 in that industry?
No, it's good. It's honestly important and why I came here to tell my story. That was not my path. I never had I didn't think I was going to be doing concrete, right? Yeah. And early on in high school, the dream was go to college or be an architect, to go to Cal Poly because it's so nice, and the beach or whatever it was going to be. Then I wasn't that good at the books. I was always good with math, not English. So it was like, went to Petaluma High School, it was all ag. So like I got through school on ag, everything ag, everything. They have ag science, ag.
Really? They're that
It was.
By
I mean, I was there from
that.
'98 to 2002. I don't know what it's like now.
And they had those options. That's really cool that they had.
So yeah, we had like all my electives were skills for the trade, which taught you how to do electrical and framing and welding and metalwork. And then you had small engines and you had welding class, and those are all electives. And then they had an ag option for ag economy, right? Ag biology, ag science. And I liked ag growing up on a dairy. We grew up on a dairy. So like that got my interest. Normal English and stuff, I already was like not into that.
Wasn't your
path, and I wasn't into some of this. I knew school, and then growing up without, my mom didn't have any money. My dad wasn't really around that much. Love him. If he hears this, you know the story. Love you. But we didn't have any money. So I always had jobs. We had to have jobs, and summer jobs, high school jobs, after school jobs. And so I think about junior year, I knew I wasn't going to college. I knew like the counselors would talk to me and everything, and I was already making money and working half days at construction companies and whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to school. Mm-hmm. You know, I already knew I was a worker. I don't know how I knew that young. I remember people would be heavy on me because I wasn't going to school, or people were like, you're just going to do that. And I already knew young. I was like, I do physical stuff. I work with my hands. I like that. I know I don't really care about money, right? I wasn't looking at that. Like, I didn't know the consequences if I went to school or if I went to construction, but I already kind of understood construction from starting young, and you can put me back on track. But my dad was a carpenter, so like early on when we were at dad's house or whatever, we were getting to mess with chainsaws and nailing stuff and helping out, and it was fun. And then my mom started dating this guy when I was a sophomore that was like a big timer project manager, this guy, Big Brian. Yeah. And he would take me and Mike and teach us, my brother Mike, he would teach us framing, and we'd go to side jobs, and on the weekends he'd drag us with us and give us $10 an hour to
what a blessing.
Learn. Yeah, it was super cool. And
I had the opposite experience. My dad, I mean, he was great at what he did, but I had none of that. And so I can like hang a picture today. But if I go to like cut a piece of wood, it's always a 1/4 inch off.
Yeah.
And do you think, before you go on with that, do you look back, looking back at that situation when you said, hey, we didn't have a lot of money, we had to work. Sure, it was tough at the time period, right? But looking back, is that what formed your work ethic? Because you have a hell of a work ethic.
I appreciate that.
And you always have.
I'm very thankful for growing up without money. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was sweet because you have nothing to lose. It's hard to explain. If you got nothing, you got nothing to lose. Like mom gave us a killer life, right? And we were able to grow up on my grandpa's dairy, but we didn't have liquid money. Mm-hmm. So it was like, my mom was really much about, like, we were pretty free, Mike and I, because she'd pick her battles. She was raising us by herself.
Free-range chickens.
Working full time. So pick your fights, and she really was like, if I was like, oh, I want a bike, I want an Xbox, I want this, she's like, perfect, get anything you want with your own money.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying no, just learn how to buy it. So we would early on mow lawns, or, Big Brian came around, we're making cash, and then, get what you want, get your bikes, get your stuff. And I don't think I would be as driven to like do what I did if I grew up in a different childhood. Maybe not,
sure.
I don't know, but that's the way it went, and I'm super happy for it, thankful for the way we grew up and the path it was. And I don't think if I had grew up with a lot of money, I definitely wouldn't be doing concrete.
Yeah.
For the record. And so get back in on path is like going with Big Brian. We were carpenters, so I was more of a carpenter. I never thought I'd be a concrete guy. So learned framing, building houses, and then like senior year, getting a job with my dad's buddy, who was like a small contractor here, but very meticulous, old school contractor that did everything from start to finish. So back then, like now everything's subs. I'm a subcontractor. Like we only do concrete. But back then is like a general contractor did everything. And so we worked for this guy, Bill Swain, and he taught us the right way to do things and make things perfect and do things perfect and do things right. And so we would start from the foundation, and then we'd frame the house. We'd put siding on the house, windows on the house, do flooring, like everything from start to finish, do trim, the whole nine. And so my path was to be a carpenter, but I was scared of heights, right? So, and I wasn't going to school. So I guess I always have this joke, like if you can't finish school, you could always finish concrete.
Yeah.
It's like, so, Big Brian was like a real framer, and my brother was like a cat. They could run. I don't know if you ever seen houses getting framed, but once you get to a certain point, second story, third story, you got to stack the trusses. Those guys
start getting sketch.
You're running those plates, it's 2x4 plates, like 3 inches high, wide, and you're 30 feet in the air, and all you have is the truss. And then you got to run back to the stack of trusses, grab another one and drag that thing to the other end, stand it up and go back. Well, I would freeze. It was frozen. Yeah. I'd look for interior walls to stand or whatever. And and I remember people being like, you work hard and you could do the floor joists and you could seal a house and you're a good cut man. And at a young age, you work hard, so we get a lot of praise, like being young and like working hard and not being a knucklehead and knowing how to use the tools. But man, you suck at heights, right? Yeah. You're not going to do good as a framer. You're never going to make it. And so at like 20, there was a guy, John Farina, that was a couple years older than me, and I looked up to this guy. He was a young, motivated guy that was hustling and really hard worker. And I knew him from my dad, family, friends and stuff, and he was doing concrete. So then I was like, oh, I'm going to go try this out, you know? And backing up a little bit, and from 18 to 20, I had about 7 different professions because I was like, I'm not going to college, but I'm in a hurry to figure out what I'm going to do. I already had like moved out to my buddy Nevy's house and I needed rent. I had my own insurance bills and paying my phone bill and gas. It was like, you don't go to school, you're on your own bills. So I built swimming pools one summer. I worked for the Muffler Works in Petaluma welding mufflers. I did framing for multiple contractors and I was always lucky to get a job because I never filled out a job application I've never done a job interview. I'd probably not get hired, but people would just see me young and be like, hey, you want to work for me? And be like, yeah. Well, you know, I wasn't really good about the relation thing or giving my 2 weeks notice. I'm like, that sounds good.
I'm in.
Yeah, it sounds great. Hey, tomorrow I'm plumbing pools.
Yeah.
And I jumped around like I was in a fury. And so when Johnny was on his own and we knew each other, and I was like, I'll go work for John. I'll go try this concrete thing. And right away, I loved the aspects of concrete that drew me to it is being young, super physical. It was not an hourly job. So in construction, you're working by the hour, you're getting paid by the hour, right? You're looking at the clock, you got your 10 o'clock break time, you got your 12 lunch, and everything's ran by a clock. Concrete is projects, right? You're not going to, there's no hours, it just needs to get done. Yeah. So it's like the days would fly by. It was super physical. Like it was either we were going to do all this grading and put all this rock, and at that time we're doing high-end concrete like countertops and fire pits and pool decks and stuff. So you're wheelbarrowing all the rock in the yard and you're doing all the rebar and you're doing the forms. But it's not like we're going to work on this for 8 hours. It's like this is getting done today because tomorrow we're going to pour it. Yeah. And so I love that aspect. Like it was just physical, like CrossFit. Like you're just all out, working hard. Don't look at the clock. We got to get this done. Super physical. And you're using your brain a little bit, but it's for like a young testosterone 20-year-old, you know, it's all
red-blooded American boy.
Yeah, it's all back.
Yeah.
And then pour days was awesome because it was like once the pour is done, you're done, and it was like a flat rate pay. Yeah. So that's what it got, like kind of hooked me.
So was that we all have to have passions that kind of fuel what we do. And early on, you're jumping around so much as everyone is. Everyone's trying to figure it out. So what was your passion in the early years? Was it the finished product? Was it being on a timeline, completing the product, and then seeing the reaction from the client? Like, what was the inspiration and passion?
I really liked concrete. I thought it was cool. You know, I thought it was like, it was tricky because it's a hard thing to get done. You know, it's a material that shows up liquid and in 5 hours it's solid. And it's like, you got to know what you're doing and you got to be on it. And it's like, it's high intensity, like playing the sport. Mm-hmm. And I just love the way it looked. I love the way like the edges were in and the joints are in and everything's crispy. And most of the time you do someone's pool deck and it turns out nice. They're so stoked and they appreciate it. And it's instant gratification and it's never covered up. So forever and never you go over to that person's house or whatever.
Handprint, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like they're stoked on that. And it was a tangible thing that you could do. And not a lot. And I didn't have much people doing it. So it was like, another thing that attracted me is I have 1,000 electrician friends. No offense to electricians, you know. You shake a tree, electrician falls out, and
sorry, Gabe went.
Yeah, and it's like there's no concrete guys my age. So it was like I wasn't competing with people, and I was on my own, like in my own little thing, and I would look at the older guys. The older guy, I mean, it's old school. They're giving me a ton of crap and
really old school at that point.
Old school, but I was motivated by that. Like that stuff would motivate me. I would never shut down. Like, I don't want to get into like how it's probably not the best employee environment in the 90s and 2000s in construction with the things that were said and how people were motivated, but I took to it. Yeah. Right. Like if you told me, oh my God, you're such an idiot, right? You're like, you're never going to get this. You're too slow. Hurry up. You suck. I wouldn't go home and pout. Next day, I'm like, I'm going to smoke this old guy.
So it's a game.
Yeah. It's like, I'm going to, Mike, he's been doing it for 20 years. Tomorrow, I'm going to go faster than Mike.
Yeah.
Right. And there's no way, the only way Mike's going to beat me is if I die. Like, because one of us is going to die first. And it's like, so it was really competitive.
Yeah.
And the group of guys we were in, you became like, they were hard on you and they were tough, and the way they explained things wasn't the way it was, but they loved me, right? And you had I had a spot, and they respected me, and they're like, even though they were always giving me heck, as I gained it, you'd get instant respect, and you would get instant like, all right, Kyle doesn't have to go clean tools anymore. He's starting to get it, right? You like earned your spot in the crew, and that's what kind of hooked me. And I seriously loved concrete the early days of like, I liked that energy. Yeah, it's fun. It's an early morning thing. I was always an early morning person.
Do you think that is looking back, and so you've seen 20 plus years of developing careers, right? You developed yours. Now you're developing other people's careers, other young men or young women's careers. Do you feel the way that you were developed in that old school fashion was the most efficient way to be developed within the industry, or is there a balance of kind of that old school mentality combined with more coaching or more instruction or whatever, or however you do it today? Has there been an evolution in the way that you teach the new guys from how you learned?
Yeah.
How's it changed?
It's changed in that the times have changed, right?
Technology, right? Yeah.
And how people grow up have changed, and how people react to things have changed. And the old school mentality still works for some, but what I've learned, and I've had a lot of coaching on this, right? I went to therapy. I'm not too proud to like say that it helped me huge with understanding people and stuff. And so that old school mentality only works for people that might have grown up in that way of life, right? It doesn't work for people that might have had a little bit softer upbringing or parents that like taught them how to be in tune with their emotions and everything. So we've evolved to like read the person, right? And read like we have 43 guys or something, and some guys are...
Which is a hell of an accomplishment for a concrete company in Sonoma County.
Thank you.
I mean, 40, that's no joke.
There's a lot of guys.
Yeah, that's a massive team.
And my success has honestly not been concrete. Now, like my success is understanding people more, if that makes sense.
It absolutely does.
I went from the concrete guy to a business person, which is a whole nother thing we can go down. But learning and seeing what actually works, and like now my greatest I'm getting off track, but the best thing for me now is seeing people get it.
Yeah.
Like the money and the concrete jobs is whatever. Now it's gone. But I love that I've had some guys like this guy, Angelo, who's been with me since 2010. And he's been everything, right? He's been a raker. Now he's the full operations manager, and like how to look at someone and understand them and tell what's going to get them going. And I try to I have some old school foremans. Yeah. And it's hard because I have to fight with them. And I have to be like, man, after the 20 people asked not to be on your crew, maybe it's you, and so you got to look at people these days and read how they're going to react.
What do you look for when you're reading how they react? Like, what are some signs?
It's testing.
So you have like a certain process of testing early on, and kind of say, oh, let's say there's 4 categories of learning. Like this person's in that category. This person reacts best. Yeah.
Testing as far as like the foremans, and not like a formal written thing, but like, hey, foremans, try this with this guy, right? This isn't working. This guy's not getting what you're saying. Maybe be like, hey, instead of screaming at this guy and telling him, be like, hey, Mike, can you please help me out? Can you come over here and tie all this rebar, and maybe get in the ditch for a second and show him, and be like, man, I'd really appreciate it if you could get all this done today.
Yeah.
Instead of the old school, you need to get all this done today, right? And like reading that, and there's people that, asking goes a lot further, being a little bit more like reading how they're going to react. Like look at them if you're shutting them down. Does that make sense? And that's the key to dealing with a lot of people. Like some people I still have these guys, and I could do my old school way. And that's a natural way for me, like, because I came up that way, and it's easy. And you're like, oh, yeah.
Get your aggression out.
Yeah, Cole, I got this youngster,
I know Cole. He's been
here since 17. Yeah, he's like me, he's like, oh, you can't break Cole, right? You can freak out, let out all your aggression and everything on him, and it's not going to be personal, and he knows it, and he knows I love him at 3:30.
Yeah. And
then there's other guys, that you're like, that ain't going to work. And you got to learn as a leader to change that.
How often are you wrong? So when you come in for a day and there's a new employee, it's human nature to watch that employer, watch that person, and make somewhat of a judgment in your head of who they are.
Yeah.
Are you right 9 out of 10 times, or have workers come in and proved you wrong? You've made a certain conclusion of who they are as a human and a worker, and then a year later or 6 months later, like they've either evolved or you made the wrong call early on?
I would say in the beginning, I thought I was always right.
Yeah, sure.
And then as business go, I'm probably wrong more than right.
Yeah.
And then what it becomes is it's not the guy, it's me. I have him in the wrong seat, if that makes sense.
Got it, yeah.
We're a big company now, so it's very nice to move people around because we have all these different opportunities. So you look at someone and you're like, that guy is not gonna
make it.
He's not gonna be a finisher.
Yeah.
And most of the time I'm right about that. But the guy's not a bad guy, and there's a place in this company for him. And, and I have him in the wrong seat. So it's like, as a leader, we have him in the wrong spot. So it's my fault, right? And I was wrong. I hired him as a finisher, and he sold me the oceanfront property in Arizona, and I bought it.
Yeah.
But he's not a bad guy, and he's a good worker, so we'll put him somewhere else.
So it's like a coach, a sports coach, where you're like, this guy's a running back, and all of a sudden you watch him for 3 weeks. You're like, no, he's not. We're shifting him to receiver or defense or whatever. So same thing. You're bringing people on an assumption of what they're going to be, and then within that, there's movement within the company to find the right fit for them.
Yeah, 100%. And and a lot of people come in and they think there's something. And they might have been somewhere else, but maybe they're not that at this company. Mm-hmm. But there's always an opportunity, and there's always a path to hopefully grow into that, right? Yeah. And so, like with coaching, from our business coach and everything, gave us like, here's a written out what it takes to be every position and what that position pays and everything. And we want you to excel, and we want you to do the best you can do. But today, you're here, and here's the list. And like, we're willing to work with you and get you to wherever you want to be. But here's the steps that you need to take to get there, which is just like being a coach, which I didn't know it was going to be like, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you just read people. You got to read people and see. And then some things flat out people just don't have it, and it's work. Like, and that's a thing that is always tough. And that's part of being the owner is it's all the tough conversations, and reading people and making sure that it's on you. It's your fault, right? If this guy's failing, it's on your fault. Well, is he failing? Have you given him everything he could do to succeed? Have you given him have you explained it? Have you written it down? I mean, our industry, is it in Spanish? Like, is it in English? Is it like, you can't just mold it to you. Is it like helpful for them? And so did you give them everything they can to succeed? And then if they're not, then that's on them. But a lot of times in small businesses, we don't realize that it's us.
Well, it's really cool, too, and the theme that you've kind of started in the last 5 minutes is, you have a company with 43 employees, which is unbelievable, and most people in that position would have an ego. But you've said two things that totally diminish your ego. I went to therapy, and I have business coaching.
Right.
That's unbelievable, right? Not everyone has that mentality of being coached by other people to become better at what you're an expert at. I found that out just on a small level through CrossFit, right? When I first started CrossFit, I thought I could do everything. Well, I couldn't. So I went to an Olympic coach. I went to a running coach. I went to a gymnastics coach. I did all these things separately to become better at what I wanted to do. A lot of people don't figure that out within their businesses, and it sounds very clear that you have figured that out. I'm going to get, if there's business operations or pores or all these different components, like, you're getting help.
Oh, yeah.
And you're getting expertise from other people.
Yeah, and to be 100% honest, that wasn't the case in my 20s.
Yeah.
I was a cockiest know-it-all. Like,
We all
I didn't
were.
need to go to school.
We all were.
I already knew everything.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so like, and then in my late 20s, I was broken. Like, I didn't want to stick with it, to be honest. Just be really
Physically broken or mentally?
Mentally
Or both?
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then those were like the years when I met you, and I was like, I'm not doing colored concrete. I'm not doing counter.
remember.
I'm so broken,
Yeah.
And I was stuck there for money. At this point, I'd done this for 11 years, and it turned to money, which was like a thing that I never wanted to do. Is like, I always would tell like younger people, I'd tell them, why do you want to do that? Oh, I'll make a lot of money. Don't do nothing just motivate on money, because like that first question, if you stuck me on an island by myself with a pile of money or that Leonard Skinner album, I want the album, because what's the money? It's going to be boring. And so there was a time where I was really broken and I did not want to do this. And it wasn't the concrete.
How long did that last?
It seriously lasted for like 4 years. It was a roller coaster.
How did you handle that mentally? Like, that's a battle, getting up every day doing something you don't want to do.
It was miserable, and it was like you would, there'd be days like, I'm done. I'm over it. I'm not dealing with it. And it was because I didn't know how to run a business, and I didn't know how to deal with people, and I had too many people at the time. I think when I was like 26, I already had like 16 guys.
Yeah.
And I was a mess.
26 years old.
Yeah. And
16 people
doing some big, we were doing jobs that were almost $1 million, a lot of stress. I didn't even have a house, right? Yeah. Like I was renting
or a wife or a kid.
I had nothing. Yeah. And it was like everything was in there, and it was miserable, but you're tough because you like, have you ever read that book, Think and Grow Rich?
Oh, no, I have not. I know what it is.
So I've been in the bad recession in 2008 and everything, and it's like I had no money, right? And everything went reverse. Because it started in 2006, it was heydays. And then in 2008 is like, wow, this didn't go right. Right? In 2006, 2007, you're making like $900 a day cash, and you're 21, 22, and we're going to Mexico and going to Vegas, and you're at Harleys and dirt bikes and dumb stuff, and no one could tell me nothing, and I'm on top of the world. And then 2008 happens, right? And you're like, whoa.
Correction.
And then I'm just sliding credit cards to keep it open because by that point there's no jobs.
Yeah.
Right. Like I was like, there's no jobs, so I'm just swiping credit cards, and I'm playing the credit card game, and I have it all spread over 5 credit cards, and Chase buys everything and takes away all my limits, and you're like, this is bad. So I remember I finally read a book. Like 23, 24.
Took you 24 years.
I went to Copperfield.
Audio, or did you read it?
Yeah, I read it.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
I had no free time, but I read book I was interested in. I bought Rich Dad Poor Dad, The E-Myth, and this book, Think and Grow Rich. And so that Think and Grow Rich book has a part of it where it's called 3 Feet from Gold, where this guy had like the biggest, he bought this plot of land, and he had mined this gold forever. And then he gave up because he couldn't find it, and he sold it. And then the other guy came in, spent some money on like finding the areas, and then hit the biggest gold claim ever seen. And he was 3 feet from gold, right? Which told me like you're 3 feet from success, or you're 3 feet from freedom, or you're 3 feet from enjoying this. And so from like, let's say 2012 to 16 was my hardest times. And it was just, I was like burned out. I didn't understand people. I didn't understand clients. I was so tired of the problems. And that kept me going. Is like 3 feet from gold. You went this far. Don't stop now, right? Like, what if you just stop now, but you're only missing this one piece? And then I was coachable.
Interesting.
And then I folded, right? And then Rob Sherry from Golden State's like, you should go see this. Go with this guy David. He's helped Rob see those guys wanted me to sell. People were generally happy if I did good.
Yeah.
So no one wants to see someone just give 10 years of your life and fail. So luckily for them, and I went to David Parr, and this guy, and he changed our life. I'll never be here without David Parr, and I was so.
Who was he?
So he's a business coach. He
that's the same one that Rob and those guys used.
Yeah, and I got lucky, super lucky that I met Rob through Jerry, the salesman, and
you're not lucky. You've got a great personality. You're likable, so it's all for a good reason.
Yeah, and I was nervous. Like I remember, and I'll be honest with this, and they'll hear this and probably laugh. I was like, I'm not going to this suit.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm not like those guys. Like those guys are professional. I'm just this dirty concrete guy. I almost canceled it.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like,
God, one decision.
Stupid.
One decision, right? And that changes your life.
Yeah, and I just said,
you went with it.
Whatever, I'm going for it. What could really go wrong? And it's the best thing that ever happened to me as far as on business. Was
that downturn also the best thing that ever happened to you? Was getting hit in 2008 with that downturn economically, looking back, would you be here without that downturn?
Oh, no. The recession, luckily I was young enough that the recession shit was the best thing that ever happened to me because I had no money intelligence. I had no concept of saving, right? I'd always been working hard and always made money, so I never knew. I was like, I'll just make more tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And so the best thing about the recession was I was just young enough. I never bought a house. Because I remember having friends being like, let's get this place. You can do a reverse mortgage. And I remember looking at it going like, yeah, you're still $600,000 in debt.
The math's not working.
I'll just buy another dirt bike. I'll buy another I remember being like, I'm not that mature. I was pretty wild. Mm-hmm. Or not wild. Like I partied hard and liked my fun young, but I always showed up for work.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, dude, I'm not ready for a house. And thank God I didn't, right? And I got a big life lesson. And then it went reverse. So then for a while, the recession was bad for me. Because, our wives are probably similar. I live like every day. The recession is just going to come tomorrow.
Yeah.
So then for 10 years, I'm like, I'm not spending anything. I'm waiting for the next recession. I'm doing this because you saw what happened, and I saw a lot of good people.
It's a great
families.
lesson, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at that like my grandparents, right? And who went through the Great Depression and how they lived their life. Now, you don't want to live pinching pennies your whole life.
No.
But there's something about that. If something comes, we're prepared. You have the nest egg. You are set up to get through that rough patch. Because no matter where we go in life, there's going to be peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
And so going through a valley that early on and creating those characteristics within the way that you work and how you save, I mean, that set up probably the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
And if it would have been gangbusters for 10 to 12 years and all of a sudden you have a wife and a kid, then it goes bad. Like, God, timing's everything.
Yeah, and it gave me the chance. So the 43 guy thing sounds very impressive.
It is impressive.
But to me, it wasn't hard because I grew organically since 08. So it's like if you did the math over 16 years and you pick up 3 or 4 guys every year, it equals close to 40 something. You know,
Yeah,
so I was able to grow at a
But everyone
steady
doesn't
growth.
pick up 2 or 3 guys every year. You know, I know
My point is that I was able to grow organically instead of getting shot out of a cannon.
Got it.
If it was too, like, you know, the fires hit in 2017 and I watched companies open and they had more work than they ever knew.
That was your gangbusters period.
17
right?
is what put us to good because I already was established. I already had David in my corner. I already was like a name in Sonoma County. And I was very lucky to be at the right place in the right time and capitalize. And I did the opposite of what people were doing because my dream was always commercial. Mm-hmm. So everybody, when the fires happened, there was people I couldn't touch because of relationships. Like bigger companies that are my competition now or that were actually bigger than had these relationships. Well, when the fires happened, everyone went to what I would say, and I'm not trying to offend anyone, the easy money, the fire insurance rebuild, the thing.
Yeah, everybody was throwing
and I went
money
to
around.
Commercial.
Yeah.
So there was a wide open door, and I was like, oh my God, these good contractors that I've been trying to get in forever that never give me time of day, no one's calling them back. I'm staying away from homes. I'm going to Commercial.
Smart decision.
But I was already established where there's other people. So I feel very thankful about the slow grow and that I don't think I could do it out of a cannon because if all of a sudden you open a business and next month you have work for 20 and you got to find 20, you don't know how to deal with these people, I wouldn't be here, you know, and that's where the coaching was lucky, where I was old enough and coachable. You know, as I got older, I was coachable. You coached me and I knew what I didn't know. When you hit your 30s and you listen and you realize what you're not good at and you realize that you need help and you're not too like proud to say you need help.
Yeah.
And so I was just at the timing. I mean, my timing has been insane. That's what's been lucky is the times or luck or whatever. Just being prepared for the times and being coachable at the time I needed to be coachable.
And that organic growth, you've hit on that component 3 times now. What's so important about that? Is that because you can shape each employee that comes in and give them the time to grow so the quality and the consistency remains the same within the pour? Are you saying that like if you were shot out of a cannon and they all came in at once, you wouldn't have the same quality control with employees?
I think I'm a control freak.
Yeah, so am I.
Even though we're like somehow it's weird,
I don't show it, but I am.
It's a weird, my guys know I'm a control freak,
Yeah.
but like me being a control freak, the organic growth was great because I got to know everybody and I got to put my hand on it and I would build up leadership. I still try to drive to every job at least once a week. Now I can't do that anymore. I got too many jobs, but I still like to have control, right? I had control growing and I got to know these guys and shape these guys and really make sure things were going the way that people that hired me wanted it to go, right?
And that control, has that diminished? Because I know the first thing with a business coach is farming out
let it go to let it grow.
Aspects of control, right? You know, that's literally number 1 on the list is you can only control so many things. You know, you have to put your trust in the employees that you bring on and you train. How has that evolved? How has your control from let's say 08 to 14 to today, how has it evolved? Because it's a major component to owning a business.
Absolutely. And it was the hardest part of being a business owner. Is the hardest part of where I am now. It's my major anxiety still, right? Even though I'm work on it, is letting it go. But I got as you grow and I was able to offer benefits and retirement, we get better people that are taking it serious, that aren't just here for a job as a career. Mm-hmm. And these people, I know they would do it as good as I would do, or probably better now. And building that team and working side by side with that team, maybe some of the guys, there's some guys that don't know that that work for me, but they'll see me at 2 a.m. on a big pour, or they'll see me jump into something, you know, I'm not going to do, I don't have time to put 8 hours and do what they do, but know that I'm there to help in case something happens. And then got the right people that are taking a career, taking it serious. They're part of it, and they know that we want to do a good job. We don't want an A team and a B team. We just want that you hire Harris. It's going to be good no matter what crew you get. And then that's helped me to let go. You know, there's guys, supervisors and foremans that I feel like are better than I ever was at the actual craft. I'm better at business, right? Or I'm getting them work and then supporting them, and then I trust them. And yeah, that's the hardest part, is letting it go to let it grow. And Dave would pound me, let it go to let it grow. And it's so easy to revert back. Oh my God, this problem would have never happened if I was there. I'm just going to do it all again. Right. And then you're going, no, don't do it all again. You know, mistakes happen, things happen.
Does it still keep you up at night in some components where you do let like the control go and there's something massive happening the next day? Is there still a component mentally where you battle? Because I do with certain things, right? I wake up, I mean, especially with real estate. Yeah. Like I'll wake up in the middle of the night and be like, is this right? Is that wrong? Did I do this? I've gone to the computer and checked my email at 3 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
And checked like a due date for an offer. You know, is that something that still happens with you, or are you getting better at that?
I'm getting better at it, but it still happens. You know, it's still the major things, like, because concrete is not something that is easily corrected, right? And if you're familiar with construction, everybody makes mistakes. I mean, everyone on a job site that's listening to this knows that a window leaks and the guys come take a window out. A piece of siding gets messed up, you pull the siding. Well, concrete guys make mistakes too. It's just the loudest thing to fix on the entire world of jackhammering out something to fix it, right?
And you're the start of everything. So if you make the mistake,
it throws the schedule off.
Pushes back. That's a lot of pressure.
It's a ton of pressure. But like, you know, learning and going, like, as the business grows and being comfortable, maybe being more stable and letting guys try and have mistakes and then kind of laughing it off. Like, once realizing that you made the same dumb mistake as the owner, and you got to be realistic that you weren't born perfect, right? It's a lot. That's a hard part, right? That's oh my God, you know, this guy, he messed this up. Oh my God. When you're like, well, when I was his age, I did the same thing. Understand that, and that's how they're going to learn. And so there's like major things that still will hang me up, and it more becomes not necessarily a day-to-day job thing, but maybe how a supervisor sends an email, right? That makes me cringe. Yeah. Like maybe. From a pride standpoint? Just like from how we're looking professionally. And like how they're talking to you, or talking to the customer, or getting feisty. And I haven't been the greatest leader to some of the customers. I haven't been the greatest example to some of the supervisors because I've lost my temper, and you should really lead by example. But, you know, I'm getting it under control, and so I don't want my supervisors being snappy or confrontational. So you'll see some kind of snappy email, and that will make me cringe. What do you do when you do lose your temper today? So as the age that you are, you know, being able to reflect, do you ever lose your temper and go back and apologize or have a conversation with a customer or an employee and like correct it, or do you let it just? No, now that you learn that you're human, I'll own it. You know, and I still have. I mean, I had a bad one like a year ago, and I've been doing this for so long, and it wasn't the customer's fault. It was a lot of stuff going at the same time, and he just happened to catch me in the wrong moment, and I completely lost it, right? And it was not professional. And then having the spine to go back and be like, dude, I totally messed that up. You know, because it earns you so much respect. Like we're all human. We all lose it. And like what I said was wrong, and I can never take it back, you know, but I'm human. You know, I got a lot of stuff going on. We got kids, and we got stress, and you got remodels, and you got a huge company, and you just at the moment push the wrong button, and it's not fair to you. You know, but everyone goes through it. Yeah. It's a human quality. I mean, I do that. I've done that with my kids. I think one of the biggest breakthroughs, my oldest, who's just a gunner, right? Love him to death. He's going to be great in this world, but he can grind you. And I remember when he was like, it probably happened when he was 3, about, 3.5 years ago. And, you know, it was the perfect storm, right? Like maybe something happened at work, maybe some other stresses, and he kept on grinding me. He did something, and I snapped. And I remember 5 minutes later taking him into a room and being like, I was wrong. And when he was 3, I was wrong. I approached that wrong. I'm sorry for what I did. And even at 3 years old, and he's beyond his years,
there was a change in them, right? So when you do go back to that customer or that employee, there's this instant respect that brings you on the same level and puts you past that situation, which I think is, a lot of people don't have that.
No, and in my early years, I would write you off.
Yeah.
Right. You could have been the best thing I had, and you just caught me at the wrong moment. And
You're gone.
I'll never talk to you. Like, write you off. Like it was easy to close the door on you. Yeah. And then I'm learning now, like I have situations when I know it's not the right time to answer the phone. Yeah. Like you're wound up, like your anxiety's high, and like a really good customer, a funny little quick story. Through therapy and stuff, you start realizing when you're gonna snap. Like you're not aware of what's going on, and then there's moments when you just shouldn't answer the phone, or there's moments where you're like, take it. You don't need to deal with this right now. You're not in the right frame, right? You're not in your window.
So creating the right environment.
Yeah, I'll call you back. Like I'm wound up. I already heard about the problem from my foreman, from the operations manager. Freaking 13 people have told me this problem. Now the contractor wants to call me and tell me the problem. I'm already aware of the problem, right?
Yeah.
It's not the contractor's fault. I shouldn't have answered the phone. I'm already upset about it or not excited about what happened. Now I know the stress of fixing it and the delay of schedule. But it's my obligation to have a good relationship with a contractor, not answer and be like, well, your guy did, and it's like that gets nowhere. And so I've avoided these things recently since therapy and stuff is don't answer the phone at that moment.
Yeah.
Get yourself calm, take some deep breaths, ride it out, drive, jump in the cold plunge, do whatever you have to do to like get calm for a second. And then, I will seriously tell myself, don't blow up, because it's a scary thing for me because everyone sees me smiling, thinks I'm a nice guy. No one knows the temper.
Yeah, and but so you are nice 99%
I'm polite,
of the time. Yeah. And also people need to know that are listening to this, what you're doing is insanely high pressure.
Stress all the
time. Right?
It's
not, you're not hammering a couple nails in. Like if you're wrong, if you're off, hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Are at stake.
Big time.
Hundreds of thousands on one pour. So like the pressure of that, right, elevates who you are as a human being because you want to do it right and you want the quality to turn out a certain way. So that's just like, when you're in your car, everyone, when they talk about road rage. Well, the reason there's road rage because you're such in an elevated state when you're driving. You're in a machine that you can die in. So obviously when something happens, you react to it in a more intense fashion than you would in a store walking down an aisle, right? So it's all the environment. You're in a high-pressured environment.
Yes.
On pours. You're there with so many different elements that can affect it. So I just want people to know that. It's not like you're walking around just yelling at people. Yeah. Like there is a massive amount of pressure on what you do on a big commercial pour. Massive.
Yeah, and to kind of to try to connect that to what people would understand is concrete is the craziest industry because it's the only thing you can't get your material and just put it in at your leisure, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, what we do every single day, it's like planning a wedding. Like every single day we plan a wedding is like, you have to coordinate the concrete, right? We have to get concrete from our vendors and you have to get that date and you have to hit that time. And if you miss that time, it's 6 weeks because everyone's so busy. Then it's like planning a wedding. You got to get the pump there. You got to make sure all the guys are there. We have, and it's like every day is planning a wedding. And if it rains, you don't want to rain on your wedding, right? And if it's too windy, it's horrible, and it's high stress, and everyone has to show up, and just to try to put that familiar with what the pressure's like is what I equivalent, or I didn't say that right, but what I equal to planning a wedding.
Yeah,
and everything has to be perfect all the time, and there's no room for error ever. You can't be sick. There's no being late. There's no concrete doesn't wait for anybody, and so that high stress has made it to where it will make you go crazy.
Yeah.
And so,
is there anything mental you do in those situations? I know you say cold plunge and it has to be the right environment or you don't answer the phone. But in those situations where you're on the job, right, and you got to get this done and you've got 100-degree fever and time is of the essence and it's a major pour, is there anything that you do mentally? Is there like a meditation or is there like a breathing pattern or whatever that has helped
I've always been like, you got to just I've always just been like, there's no choice to fail. Like, there's no option out.
Just do it.
I've never done much meditation or, I did a little breath work and learn how to calm it down. But growing up and working with those old school guys was basically, there's no other option, right? You just have to get it done. Like sometimes in the world, you just have to do things that you don't want to do, or you have to, if you just come up short, it's only going to take you down. Like you have to be mentally tough. You have to tough it out. we call it the quiet hour. There's always a quiet hour on every pour where it's called shit's hitting the fan, right?
Yeah. Things
are going off and we're scrambling and it's just quiet, but everyone put your head down and you just get it done. You don't complain about it. You don't wish it wasn't, like it's every second you waste is just putting you behind.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Are you going to pass those characteristics and those life lessons on in some way to your son? Do you feel that in today's world, 2024, you got a 2-year-old boy, 2.5 years old?
Yeah, he'll be 3 in
Got
June.
another one coming. Congratulations.
Thank you.
In a month.
Yeah, it's exciting times.
Are you going to try to instill that same mentality in your son? Or are you going to coach him differently?
I'm going to...
Sorry to go so deep on you.
No, it's good. It's a super good question. It's something and it's kind of why I'm here, and I wanted to tell my story to inspire people, but also, like, you got to just... Yes, I want my kid to be close to my mentality, better with his emotions, maybe care about, maintain relationships a little bit better, younger, and understand, but also know that you just have to do things. You just have to get shit done.
Sometimes
shit has to get done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, and sometimes you just do things till you figure it out. Like the right thing's not going to slap you in the face. Like life doesn't come with a remote. You got to just try things. And in my story, where I hope someone listens, and it's not about bragging about myself or how good we've done. It's about there's people out there that don't know what they want to do. And I didn't want to do concrete.
Yeah.
I just had to get a job. Right? And sometimes you just try things, and sometimes things just go, and you just have to do it because you got to pay the bills, and you got to be moving. You got to be moving, and you got to try things, and you can't go stale. And so, like, I want my son to understand that if you work really hard on the weeks, then you get to play really hard on the weekends, and you don't get to do everything that you just love all the time. Sometimes you got to do some tough things.
Totally.
And when you accomplish the tough things and you get them done, that's rewarding, because you did it, you endured it. It's fine. And then you'll get to do good things, but you can't just only cherry pick the good things.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does, because I think that's something that I've tried to instill, and it's hard with I got 2 young boys. They are nuts. They're sticking a knife in everything, right? Running around. And that's something that we've tried to instill early on is there is no path that's A to B. You're going to do things you don't want to do, but when you do them to the best of your ability. And in that, you're going to start to build a reputation.
Yes.
Right? If you can do something that you don't want to do well, you can do anything in the world.
Absolutely.
There's nothing holding you back. And it is a hard concept for a young kid to grasp, right? Yeah. We go through it with homework. Like my first grader gets like 30 minutes of homework a day. It's crazy. It works, right? They're doing well, but like it's a constant conversation of like, hey, I know you don't want to do math, right? I know you don't want to do this, but if you do it and you do it to the best of your ability, at some point when you have a career, you're going to have things placed on your desk you don't want to do, and you're going to have the mentality to get them done.
Yep.
So it's an unbelievable lesson that you're like putting across.
And it's about, and to touch on what you said, don't just do it well. Yeah.
Work hard.
Get it done right. Because if you do it half, you're going to have to do it again.
100%.
Just do it right the first time. Or like give it your all, and don't do life half-ass. Do whatever you're doing, do it 1,000% and be the best at it. And you could change things, it's fine, whatever, but get to the top, of what you tried.
Yeah.
And be the best at it. And then I think that helps you move on in life to other things because you didn't leave it half done.
Yeah.
If that makes sense?
It does. And you're learning characteristics and the things that you don't want to do. You're learning things that are going to add to your next job or your next path. Like, It's never all for naught. I've never done anything in my life where I was like, that was useless.
100%.
Maybe calculus. I've never used it pre-calc in my life.
Some of those high school things.
Zero. But beyond that, like it's always added to something. Some component I've been able to roll over, right? And you keep rolling over, right? Then you do the next job and you roll over. Then you find the job or the passion that you love, and you have all these things that you've rolled over, and you can get proficient at the thing you love.
Yeah, and I think it's super important. Like it's important to do a lot of things before you settle in, because exactly what you said. Everything I did I did a plumb pools, and I tied pools, and I worked at McClure Electric, and I framed houses, and I know what made our business good is little pieces of all that, and then all the people I worked for. Mm-hmm. Like you see these bosses, right? You learn everything from every different thing. You're not necessarily there when you're young because you love it or your money. It's what are you learning out of that, right? What was that boss like? What was those people like? did you pick something up for someone? Did you get a good lesson? I mean, I've learned crazy stuff about saving and investing from just working with old contractors that would share their stuff. You never know where you're going to be standing. You might just be the luckiest guy ever that's a bartender at some job when the guy says, buy all this Tesla before no one knows who Elon Musk is. And if you never took that chance and if that was a job that was frowned upon or wasn't your dream job, well, good thing you were there.
Yeah.
Like, you never know what opportunity could happen. Does that make sense?
It does. And that is a currency, right? That knowledge is a currency. It's not financial, but it can turn into finance.
Or a way of life.
And it's a great lesson, what you said, and something that I've always done, even at an early age, was just listen.
Listen.
Right? Like, you never know when that nugget of truth is going to come by. You never know when that life-changing person is going to, walk by you in a store and strike up a conversation or at a bar. I bartended. Right. I worked restaurants. I had jobs since I was 15.
Right.
I always listened. Not to the best of my ability, and I made a lot of mistakes. But I waited for that. Like you said, that guy that sits at the bar and says, listen, here's this electric car company, and I really believe in it. Then you go do your research. But if you got your ears closed and you're closed off, you're never going to get those nuggets, So it's a really good quality to have.
Yeah, and I was lucky to have older people that were successful as, like, really good friends' dads, or, like, getting into the concrete early. There's a big family that runs all the quarries and everything that like I would call as like a mentor, and they give you life lessons. Well, what the lesson he was telling me at the moment wasn't good for the moment.
Yeah.
But then later on, you're like, oh my God, this is all making sense, right? That's what that guy was talking about. No, he gave you that advice and that piece that he might have shared when at the time you didn't have the patience to hear it. Mm-hmm. It worked out in something else, and you reflect on it.
Yeah.
So you never know, but the kid thing is tricky.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. And I was going to get into that, and this is a perfect situation. Like, how when you're young and you're by yourself and you're single, which you were when I met you, it could be all work. Or all play, or a combination. Or you want to go snowboarding, you go snowboarding. You work 7 days and you want to go to Mexico, you go to Mexico. Your job hasn't changed. It's gotten only tougher from a time perspective and a mental perspective, right? With 43 people underneath you. How have you balanced out, I know your wife, wonderful woman. I've met your kids. As those stages have come in and you've continued to grow this company, how have you evolved? How have you brought them in and still, let your company grow and kept that work-life balance with them so they get what they need?
Yeah, it's a tough one, because sometimes sometimes unfairly and sadly the company takes priority over everything, unfortunately, because that's our life and that's the stuff. And luckily, I got so lucky marrying Anna, and she's a great partner and works hard and understands.
Remember the day you met her?
Yeah, CrossFit 30.
At the cornhole tournament. I remember you guys walking off. I was like, did you guys see Anna and walk off?
She started dating me when I would say I was nothing, right? Like, she didn't date this Kyle with all these people and this company and what it was like a lunatic.
She dated you for you.
Yeah, and we didn't have no thrills. I was living with me and Mike. We're still living in this trailer that we grew up in.
Yeah.
And she, nothing. And she's a great partner, and she works hard. And what I started doing in the early days, I work every single day. Or if something was tough in my life, I just work. It's the easiest thing ever, right? I knew worked so good. If some have hard times with Anna, have hard times in life, I just go work. I got work every single day when I was young.
So that was your therapy?
Yeah, and you just zip out, and then you work 12, 14 hours, and you only sleep 8. Well, most of your day is gone, and that was it. And
kids come, it's different, though.
Kids come, everything changes, and it is super important to not work weekends. I don't work weekends.
Yeah.
I work every single day, but you couldn't get me there's no money you could throw in my face to work on a Saturday over going to breakfast with Anna and taking Joe to bike or do something. And so it's still hard during the week. Like a lot of stuff goes on, and the hours will be late. I might leave the house at 3 and the phone doesn't stop till 6. But even then now I try to really put my phone down and I do not answer a phone call after 5 unless it's like, if the operations manager call me at 5, I have to answer that because he sends out dispatch at 3 and we don't talk after 3, and he knows how important it is. So I guess what I'm saying now is bring in Anna as my wife and Joe as my kid, and we're having a daughter. It's more important now to have a family life and have time. And so the things I do is I don't answer my phone after 5, or I put it away. I try not to look at that email after 5. And I try to play with Joe and talk with Anna and
be present.
Yeah, and be present. And we don't work weekends. Like, I really appreciate the weekends. Like, I love my weekends.
Which you should appreciate when you're working hard.
Yeah, and I never
earned that.
I always would work weekends. So like 2 days off to me seems like a vacation.
Yeah.
And now I'm still love it so much. Like, it's Friday night. I don't have to go to sleep at 8 because I'm not getting up. We let Joe run around a little bit longer. You get up in the morning and you're having coffee. And I really appreciate the weekends. And it's important, and I want to instill into Joe and my kids that if you work super hard on the weekend or the week, then you get to have those fun weekends.
Tell them not to be realtors.
Yeah, no, don't do realtors. Realtor's not an easy task either. Yeah. There was a stint where I thought I'd be a realtor, and I took my principal's class, and I'm like, wait, you only work nights and weekends? It's like everything I don't want to do.
Nonstop. It's not pouring at 2 a.m, but it is nonstop. On that same component, you and your brother have a phenomenal relationship. I've been around both of you enough to see how much you love each other, how you've grown up together, how you've depended on each other. You've also brought a component of business together. Have you or have you not? Because he does dirt?
Yeah, Mike's his own company.
He is. I thought it was under the umbrella.
Yeah, so I already had started and had a good list of customers. And so in 2015, I remember talking with Mikey and being like, man, now's a good time if you don't want to try anything. And we tried something together for a minute, but we're polar opposites. Yeah. And we had such a good relationship that it wasn't going to be worth losing our good relationships over money. So we do 2 separate companies. Mike's is all on his own. He's done his own thing and built his own thing, but we share an office, share a yard, we share a property in Pengrove, and we work together on the same jobs, and we're trying to be a team player and work it out, but we don't share money. Yeah. And it's kept it good. Cool.
Because it's nice to have that component of family in it as well. Like, you guys are in similar careers, and you can share and bounce off each other. And then also tell me about, like, I'm enthralled with the bidding process.
Okay.
Like, there's so many unknowns in terms of bidding a job, and then the unknowns of the environment, the unknowns of weather. How do you effectively go in and create a competitive bid, not only to get the job, but also to do it at the cost that you want?
Yeah, so bidding is a very also stressful thing, because bidding's funny. You put all this time into it. You really want that job. If you win it, you're so scared that you lost something and you forgot some piece, and that's why you won it. If you lose it, you're pissed that you lost all those hours that you put into it. So it all starts on just making sure you have all the pieces. You get a set of plans from someone, and you know the basics. Per plan that this house is going to be X amount of square feet, and you put all the pieces together. What do we need for forms? What do we need for rebar? What do we need for bolts? What do we need for concrete? How many man hours is it going to take to do all this? And there's costs to all that, and you put it together, and then you got to write proposals to steer your success, right? Yeah. The bids is per the plan. It's not per whatever the customer dreams up on that lot, right? Mm-hmm. So to cover yourself and make sure you're successful, is your proposals are written that this is a price for this plan dated this date with this engineer, and it's plan specific. Mm-hmm. So if anything changes, you have an opportunity to change your price and make sure you covered whatever was added or subtracted. And so bidding is a base. Bidding's a price per the plan, and that's where a lot of arguments and fights come in, because people will get it in their head that the price is for whatever happens on this lot,
regardless of how it changes.
Yeah, like what? I thought this was covered. No, it's per this set of plans, so we could bid apples to apples, because you got to start on a base in writing that is competitive. So you have 5 people bidding this foundation. Well, what are we bidding off? We're bidding off this set of plans, and it's per this plan. This price is good for this plan. Yeah. Now, if out of the nowhere, we're in the middle of the thing, you want to add this retaining wall and put this fire pit in, that's extra, right? Like if you put bacon on your burger or guacamole on your burrito, it's going to be extra. If you add to the scope, it's extra. Yeah. And so it's not as scary as it seems, because if you write proposals tight and you spell out what, this is per one phase of moving in. This is summer conditions. This is per this plan dated this with this architect, and then anything else that's not included is excluded. And to me, it's not as scary as people think. It's just more, you got to really manage those jobs. And And as the new sets of plans come in, you got to really scan them and see what changed and reference them and be right on. And you got to communicate.
Yeah.
I've never had a lot of problems because I'm really fast to communicate. I would call you and be, Mike, on this plan, this footing was this size, and now this new revision, this footing's this size. I'll highlight it. I'll send it to you clear as day, and I go, this is obviously extra concrete and rebar, so it's X amount. You understand? Mm-hmm. Okay. Then it's all communicating.
Yeah.
And so
open lines of communications, kind of
and spelling it out. Like I've never been a guy to send a one-line price number. We are very descriptive.
Yeah.
And everything has a price and it's described, like if it's site work, if it's a curb and gutters, if it's sidewalks, if it's a foundation and what it's attached to and what plan it references and how many square feet. And we'll send in a takeoff highlighted with the comment box that'll say, on your plan, these are the items. This is item A. It's in green. This is item B. And the communication is what's major. To make sure you knew what I got covered or didn't have covered, you know?
Yeah. And so you get the bid, right? And then go over the process next. Like you get the bid, you guys set up times to do the work. What comes next? Like walk me through it.
You win a job, you know, typically get a job walk, you know, meet the contractors. What are your expectations? What is the site like? What are the working hours? Okay, now we got to coordinate digging footings. We're going to get our machines down there. We're going to get guys digging the footings. And, you know, we're going to first day try to put a pour on because everything's a month out. So we're going to forecast out when is this date. And the way we have success is we don't call the concrete companies and say, I need to pour this foundation on this date. We'll call and say, I got a 150-yard foundation I need to pour in Marin on the week of the 15th. What's the best day for you and time? And I found that was my best success. And people would be like, what? Yeah. Like, yeah, what's the best day for you? What's the best time? Oh, we can do 150 yards at 8 o'clock on Thursday. Now I need to go reverse and make sure that happens.
Yeah.
So now we know that we have that date in a month and we need to get this done. If it's late hours, if it's weekends, if it's making sure everyone's in line and we're talking schedules and and really pushing to make sure that date goes. And that was my biggest change compared to other people. Sorry.
You get emotional over
talking
bid process
is instead of demanding a date, seeing what works best with the concrete plant since they're the ones that we need the most, and then making sure that on our end we make it happen. We hit those dates. We put the right amount of people at the job. We look at the weather. I have 7 weathers on my phone. Like I'm almost as good as a pilot. You can call me for some weather, and unless you have a weather app, I'm gonna give you a good thing. We're watching the weather about 7 times a day.
Yeah.
And that's kind of forecasting and just making sure all the pieces are aligned. Yeah. It's a ton of scheduling.
And then you do the pour, right? You get in, time's there, it's 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning, and you do the pour. Tell me about the finish, because the finish is everything, right?
Yeah.
Or at least the pressured aspect.
Yeah, the big slab. So we're doing the big warehouses, like 80,000 square foot warehouses.
And that's your main business
my favorite
now. It's
thing.
Commercial, right? It's large large slabs.
Yeah, so we love, like we became big slab guys, like big big warehouses for wineries, for barrel storage, for fulfillment centers, whatever it might be. That's our favorite thing. It's big energy. So everything has to go right, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, and every finish is different, but like the big ones are easier than the small ones.
Are they?
Yeah, everything's machines.
Oh, got it.
You know, over the years, we went from doing everything by hand to like we're very heavy on machines and technology.
Yeah, you got like those Star Wars like floaters.
Yeah, we have the riders. So
like
the big pours to us are super high stress on lining up 800 yards and getting up at 12:45 a.m. and making sure everything aligns. But
that's what time you're up, 12:45 a.m.
If we pour at 2 a.m., we're normally there an hour early.
Damn.
So you'll get it's common in the summer to wake up at 12.
Wow.
a.m.
Oh, I cannot imagine. I can't imagine.
And it's a super high stress to align. That's a lot of money, but the actual process is a lot easier than doing a stamped pool deck because we have invested in automatics, like technology's taken over every industry, including ours to some degree. So like grading the rock, the tractors are ran automatic. You set it to a grade and the thing's reading off a laser. It's moving. And when we bought a laser screed, and screeding is basically the practice of flattening the concrete, getting it to grade. Well, this machine will do that automated by lasers. It'll also rake the concrete, so any extra is going to go right and spit into the next bay. It's going to float the whole thing, all with one guy. You can have a cup of coffee, no one's sweating.
How many guys was that 30 years ago?
And that replaces 6 guys, that machine right there.
6 guys. Wow.
Yeah, so that replaces rakers, screeders, and float guys right away. And then the riders are these big machines that you would sit on and drive, and they have 10 trowels.
Yeah.
So there's 10 guys you're sitting on with a motor.
Wow.
So you would take something that used to take us 30 guys, we can do it at 10 and 10 guys, and those bigger pours are way less stress. I don't know why, because everyone's taking it so serious, and there's so much weight on it being perfect, and everyone's taking it serious.
So it's like a big game.
Yeah,
everybody's
those go,
up for it. You
those
practice
go smooth.
Yeah,
it's weird. Those aren't. I'm not as stressed about. I sleep good before those.
Do you?
I will freak out about someone's little pool deck that's under a truck. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Everything's by hand. We seem to have issues and things go goofy. When it's the machines, you have a good confidence. We have a lot of machines, and you have more machines than you need, and the machines are not meant. Right, they're never hungover.
Yeah,
they're never in a bad mood.
Never moody.
Yeah, they're never leaving me. You know, my guys are really good. I shouldn't say that, but the machines are very systemized. Right, it's going to be the same thing every time. They're always going to do the exact same thing. You know, they're not going to let you down.
Yeah,
and it's super high stress, and it all needs to go good because 800 yards is a lot of money.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So what do you do if everything's lined up perfect? It's a huge pour, and then there is something that is uncontrollable, like weather or whatever else is uncontrollable in your career. What do you do as the leader?
You know, I have so many horror stories of that.
I can imagine.
But now that I'm older and confident, and I'm a name, and I'm not trying to please everybody. In the early days, you're trying to please everyone, and you're doing stuff that you know you shouldn't do just to please the guy. And then 98% of the time, it bites you in the butt, and then it's your own fault because you knew better.
Yeah,
we just cancel it.
Yeah.
Like now, we have the confidence and the pull and the relationships that it's like we might get up at. If I'm nervous about something and the pour stays at 6 o'clock, I might get up at 2 and drive up there.
Yeah.
And look around and be like, you know what? It's not worth it. You know, this is not worth it. Everything changed. People get mad, right? You cancel a big pour, the plant's mad because they booked all these guys, and things get messed. But it's a lot better than the
live to see another day.
Yeah, and we've got the confidence now to know that that's not a good idea to go for. And you know, as a contractor, every contractor has tried to please somebody and did something they knew was wrong, and in 98% of the time it goes wrong, and then you're the bad guy.
So follow your gut. Have you followed your gut and found success in that as your career has evolved?
As I'm older, we're very confident in the right way, and the most important thing to success is setting yourself up for success. If it's managing that customer and managing their expectations and being brutally honest with them and telling them how it is, or being like, hey, Mike, something happened. Our main guy has COVID. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not going to pour tomorrow. I'm sorry. Yeah. And being fine with people being upset a little bit that you didn't do a bad product.
No.
You know, and you got to know when it's right or wrong. And it takes a long time to get that confidence. And it takes a long time to stand up to these big GCs that are waving, oh, you're going to get a delay fee. You're going to get this. You're going to get that. If you do what's right and you do what's honest, I've never experienced that.
Have they ever come back, these big GCs, and there's an issue with something like that, you canceled it, and it was a big blow up, and they've come back and said, you know, you're right?
Oh, 98% of the time.
Yeah.
You know, the worst feeling is when it says it's going to rain like crazy, and we cancel something, and you go out and the birds are chirping, and the sky's blue, and they're like, you could have poured today. Yeah. It's like, yeah, but it could have been really bad. But most of the times it rains or it hammers, and it happens at like 2. Yeah. And they call and they go, oh my God. Thank God you did that, because it looked so good in the morning and it was so nice, but the moment you would have needed it to be nice, it would have been raining and it would have cost everybody.
And that's when your reputation builds, right?
Yeah.
Is when you do stand up and you do make the right decision, and then those big GCs pass your name on to somebody else.
Yep.
Right?
And you got to be smart with what's in writing. Mm-hmm. You know, and there's been people that have pushed and say, hey, yeah, go ahead and put it in an email that you authorize me to do this in a horrible situation, that you'll take all responsibility for anything goes wrong. And 90% of the time, they finally be quiet, right? When it's in their court, and they're like, oh, this is going to hurt us. Yeah. All right, let's side with that.
And I'm sure it doesn't happen often, but you're human, and you do a lot of work and a lot of jobs, and mistakes are made.
Yeah.
What do you do when a mistake is made and you know it is on you or your company or your worker or whoever? How do you handle that? How do you go back to that GC? How do you go back to the customer? Has that evolved as you've gotten more experience?
Yeah, that's the most important thing to a successful business is don't fight it or have an ego or be greedy. Just fix it.
Yeah.
You know, we make mistakes, and I'm not going to battle with you. And I can see when it's right or wrong. Like, I could drive up and be like, that's not going to fly.
Yeah.
And don't go to war with the customer. The customer is the most important thing. It's, you know, make sure that you take care of them, make sure they're happy. And so, like, at this stage, we do make mistakes. It's as we grow, we make more mistakes.
You have to. Everyone does.
Yeah, because there's less control, and you got new people, and things go wrong. I just make it right. Yeah. Don't argue about it. If it's got to come out, come out. It's not going to be the end of us, but would be the end of us is a bad reputation.
Yeah.
You know, just make it right, and don't dwell on the dollars, because they'll come. The dollars will always come with a good reputation.
Yeah.
And just fix it.
Yeah.
You know, luckily I've never been really greedy about that, and most of the time
I've taken a loss. You're saying, like,
I've got headstrong young, and then thought about it and been like, I'll invest that 10 grand and just redo that.
Yeah.
And they're probably gonna be like, oh man, I'll refer Kyle because things happen, but he made it right.
Grand, right.
It's gonna come back.
It's gonna 10x.
Yeah, because we're in this for the 30-year, not the 5-year, right?
Yeah.
You're in it for a long time, and you don't want to make mistakes, 6-figure mistakes would not be good. But, you know, and those things don't happen that often. But small mistakes, just fix it for them. And sometimes if you walk up and you know it's wrong, don't wait for them to ask you or tell you. Just be like, hey, this is not up to our quality. We're just going to take this out. It's going to be another week.
Yeah.
And that goes really far, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are you most proud about, like, within your own evolution as a human being, as a business owner, like, kind of reflecting on your career, like, what makes you most proud about? I know that's hard to answer. Like, you don't want to sit around with
I think about this a lot, and the thing that I'm most proud about is seeing people do good in life, right? So you get you get young guys, you get people lost, they don't know what they're doing, and you get them into a career, and then they turn into a manager, or they come in as a young kid and they stuck with it forever, and they were a good guy. Now they're a foreman and they're driving a truck. Like the thing to me now is more, you know, young.
So development.
It's development. Yeah, when I was young, I wanted yachts and Tahoe houses and stacks of money.
Yeah.
And then
I do still a little bit.
Yeah. I'll take it.
Yeah.
But no, my most successful thing, honestly, and it's true honesty, is seeing people have a career and being able to give guys healthcare in a real life, and seeing them be able to afford to live in Sonoma County.
Yeah.
And seeing guys move up, you know, seeing guys that were laborers now are foremans, and you see guys that were with me in the, you know, digging and tying rebar and stuff, and their operations managers are sitting in the office and they're
changing their lives.
Yeah, this is a long career.
And you've changed their lives. What you've started has changed their lives, has provided for their families, has given them pride. Like,
yeah, it's a real
power,
career,
man.
And it's a life. And when you're young and you have a job, you don't realize that people actually need a job. Or I don't know. I was always weird. I was like, what's this guy's problem? You know, people need jobs.
Yeah.
And if you can give them a stable job, and then you can also give them an environment to move up and be part of something. And I mean, I hope everyone passes me, you know, and it got to feel that, what it's like to be the man, or to be at the top and have a say in things. And definitely that's my most thing I love the most, is seeing people have a say and be part of it and do good.
So that's from a business perspective, right? That's what you're most proud about from a business owner. Like in 30 years from now, when you're sitting in Truckee, shotgunning a Mai Tai at 12 noon on a Wednesday, what's going to define success for you then? Like when you're looking back in your mid-70s and you're looking back in your life, it doesn't have to be business, right? This is all of life. What will define success to you?
Success to me is going to be a combination of a lot of things. It's going to be, did I live, right? Did I live life, and did I help people? You know, like maybe I gave someone good advice, and maybe someone was like, oh man, that guy, he was kind of wild, but he kind of he tried to help me, he steered me, he understood me. And he somehow taught me something that I could take. And then the most successful thing to me, coming from a divorced family, is that me and Anna have a strong marriage, and we love each other, and we have our friends over, and Mike and I are at the ranch, you know, because we got that place in Pengrove, and we did it, right? We broke the odds. We had our two families on the same property, and we still love each other, and we're at the shop having coffee, and there's grandkids running around, and we taught our kids a strong work ethic, and you know, people looked at the company, and like, I had a good opportunity there, and it changed my life. And he was an honest guy, and so success for me to be that, not money, that I like touch more people's lives, and I was able. The most successful thing to me would be that my kids want to come and hang out with me. For sure, right? They're like, Dad's up in Truckee, let's go snowboard. Yeah, because I don't have that relationship as much with my family, and I've seen people who do that, and it's like that's the greatest thing that. I taught Joe enough and my daughter, we don't know what her name's going to be yet, but I taught them enough to be like, Dad was kind of hard, and he taught us good work ethic, but man, they're really fun, and we want our kids to go up, and Kyle's hosting, and I have all the grandkids in my truck, and we're going up to Tahoe, and you guys just have a month off. I'll take the grandkids this summer, and so that'd be success to me. That would be
success to a lot of people.
Yeah, that it would be that I'd be the cool grandpa, and there's a lot of people that I helped, whether they started their own businesses or took some advice or listened to this podcast and pulled the trigger on something they were trying to do, and that'd be it. That's it for me.
Well, I'll tell you another component of success, knowing you for as long as I have, and not trying to be cliche or cheesy, but it's something I always try to live by as well, is, and this is also adds to your success and what's driven you and why you've gone as far as you have. Each person that you come across in a day, because I've seen you talk to other people, I've seen you coach people, I've seen you talk to me, you make their lives a little bit better. Like when I see you at a store, I walk away in a better mood.
Oh, I appreciate that.
That's an unbelievable component of a personality. Not a lot of people have that. You have that. You've naturally had that from the day I've met you to today. You have an ability with your energy and your positivity, and I know you've talked about tempers and troubled times and all these things you've done to work. You naturally have a component to make people feel better when you're in front of them. And that can't be taught, I don't think.
That means a lot. I appreciate it.
I mean, that's an honest to God, true compliment, and something I experience I look forward every time I see you, no matter where it is. So whatever you have to create that, keep that going, because that's also going to intertwine with your version of success with your kids and what you want with your family.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Thank you very much, man.
Well, buddy, it's great having you on. I'm stoked we got to sit down and talk. I'm sure we'll do it again in the future.
Awesome.
How do people get a hold of you in terms of work?
So work stuff, we have a website, harriscompanyconcrete.com. We got the Harris Company Concrete Instagram, and then local business out of Petaluma, and
you're looking for what business? You're looking for the larger commercial.
Our customers now are we're commercial. We're looking for more slabs, wineries. Our fits with more of a general contractor where they have a supervisor and they know they're not going to see me personally, and so those are the customers. We look like more of a systemized business that might have a accounts receivable, accounts payable department, and is aligned with a general contractor, direct. And we do homes. We'll do homes, brand new homes. We'll do home. We like homes start to finish. Yeah. A brand new house. We'll still do all those fancy elements as long as it's attached to a brand new foundation and a garage or whatever it might be. But that's our key customer right now.
Well, give this man a call. You will not be disappointed. Thanks, you so
Mike,
much.
For having me, man.
I appreciate it.
All right.